Welcome to Working for Progress, a podcast that connects us through conversations about how we craft our working lives and make progress. Through open and thoughtful conversations, our podcast starts with simple pleasures, finishes in awe, and meanders through career journeys in between. This podcast is rooted in Tribe Porty, a community co-working space and creative hub filled with entrepreneurs, freelancers, charities, social enterprises, and SMEs. We believe in the power of connection, sharing stories that inspire, challenge, and celebrate the many ways we shape our working lives. Join us as we dive into the realities of work, purpose, and progress, one conversation at a time. Gael Drummond has been quietly making waves in the social enterprise world, bringing a leadership style that is both tenacious and refreshingly egoless. Passionate about helping people help others, Gael sees social enterprise as the future and feels privileged to work alongside the Firstport team and inspirational entrepreneurs driving meaningful change every day. Welcome, Gael.
Thank you.
We're going to start out nice and easy with your 5 simple pleasures.
Sport is probably top of that list. And within that, swimming probably. I've got a background in sport and a background in competitive swimming and competitive water polo, so I used to play at Porty just up the road. And yeah, that's the thing that keeps everything ticking for me, I think. So that's definitely one. Being outdoors, walking my dog, simple pleasures, but just like Bee Craigs. If you've not been to Bee Craigs in West Lothian, that's
I have not been to Bee
you have
Craigs.
Not. Well,
no.
You need to get yourself to Bee Craigs. That is, that's top of the list for me, and it's beautiful big space, huge trees where just everything is bigger than you, and nature feels bigger than you, and I really like that. And yeah, just walking the dog, Logan. So that's kind of number 2, I would say, on the list. Social time, like time actually, is one of my simple pleasures, and one that I feel like I don't have enough of, and what you do have, it's kind of running through my fingers. Like, I think everybody's busy. Everybody's trying to cram everything into a really short period of time, a short day, a short week. And so, just having time to just stop and do the things that you want to do, and not, I feel like I'm always running, like I'm always kind of 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes late for everything. So when you get just that bit of time that you're not supposed to be somewhere or doing something.
Although you did say time to stop and do.
It did.
But you really mean stop and time with nothing to do.
Yeah, or
Or
doing...
do the things that you put off.
Things that I put off, gardening. I really find a lot of pleasure in that, but it's always probably the last thing that I get to. So that's probably on the simple pleasures list as well.
Nice. So you're a lot of moving. You're a moving woman.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about your sports, because I know that is your background.
Mm-hmm.
So you competed competitively in swimming and water polo?
Swimming when I was wee. So I swam until I was about 16, 17, went to university, and the swim team was next level. I was down at Loughborough, so it was like the GB team, and I was not at that level. So I ended up in water polo, and yeah, found that, and I'm still in it.
Are you? You still do it?
I don't, well, I say I don't play. I'm actually going away with a group of girls to the south of Spain on Thursday.
So you do play?
I do play. Well, I haven't played. I don't know. I'll tell you on Monday when I come back. So I coach more now than I play. Loads more than I play, which actually annoys me, because I look around and there are lots of male counterparts similar ages to me that still play.
Yeah. And
I want to play. I just don't have the time to play, and I think that's the kind of female mum thing that kicks in, that became a natural break in, or an end point for sport for me, and I've never quite been able to pick it back up. So I'm super jealous of the dads that managed to do that. So we might, I don't know, over a few wines and a tapas bar over the weekend, we might create, I don't know, a Scottish Masters mums team.
Oh, cool.
Who knows. But I coach a lot more than I play now.
Young people, or
yeah, Scotland under 18 girls team, actually, which is fabulous. It's really, my wee one's 3 and a bit, and I really enjoy being amongst teenagers, actually. I mean, in lots of different ways it's super challenging, but they just bring an energy to things that, and a lightness to things that I think it's nice to be in. I like surrounding myself with.
And do you feel like the landscape of girls in sport is improving? Do you see more women or girls coming forward, or do you still think it's
some
lacking?
sports, I would say. Certainly football. And I think both the American women's team, soccer team, and the Lionesses have done a lot for that, and I think Scotland's kind of beginning to follow suit. I think there's a lot more interest in Scottish women's football than there's ever been. There's a couple of key personalities and key players that have kind of driven that. Yeah. I think the same with Scottish women's rugby. I think the SRU do not a bad job of giving a bit of parity to the women's team. And then you've got kind of the international stage where you've got the Williams sisters and kind of big kind of hitters in that space. I think it's really sport dependent, to be honest with you.
Yeah, especially in Scotland, I feel like.
Yep.
It's still, I think we're still very much in the deficit area for girls particularly.
Yeah, I think there is also girls in particular, but also that spread of access to sport where it's dominated, and Scottish sport is dominated by football. And there is a huge chasm between the press, the interest, investment in other sports after that. And actually for young people and for anybody really, you need to give them options to be able to find something that really works for them. And I think culture and all the complexity around that kind of leads everybody to football in Scotland, and I'm not sure that works for everyone. So there's definitely a male-female divide, but then there's definitely a small handful of dominant sports at the cost of, I think,
and do you think sports. That is it your son? Sorry, son, yeah. And you just have one child.
I do.
Do you think, because he's 3.5, so goes to school at 5, there gets a little bit more time back, not a huge amount more time back. Yeah. Do you think that's in your future potentially to carve some time back for your own sport performing?
Probably not. I don't know if anybody needs a 42-year-old Gael Drummond in a swimming costume.
I think the world does definitely need that.
I don't know, maybe because I think possibly it would be more swimming, so getting back into, because there is a bigger masters swimming than there is a masters polo, particularly in Scotland. So just being able to get back in the pool consistently and train consistently would be sufficient, not necessarily having to compete.
Yeah,
I think those days are gone, but being able to get back in the water and swim
and just give the time to it. Yeah, or just because you mentioned you see these men doing it, and
but the thing with polo is you need another 6.
Yeah, it's not just you in the pool, is it?
No, as much as I would like to think it's all about me. No, that might be this weekend. That could be the outcome of this weekend.
Okay.
We watch this space.
Yeah.
If there's any other, I don't know, 30 plus, I maybe take any age actually. Any other women looking to get back into polo in Scotland.
Okay, there's a shout out there. Yeah. Actually, we just had the last interview was with a woman who coaches female Olympic coaches. Through Wish. I don't know if you've heard of them. Anyway, she was talking about the lack of female coaches, so kind of at the Olympic level, but I'm sure that's widespread and at every level, I would imagine.
Yeah, it is, and it's an interesting one because I think I've my whole career I was coached by men and some fabulous guys, and I don't think I lost out in any way by it not being a female coach, but it is that kind of role model. You can't be it if you can't see it type thing, and allowing girls and women to have a kind of pathway, and also not having to play right the way to being 30, 40, whatever, and coming out at different stages and doing different things. I think that is important, and I think it's good to have choice, because different coaches have different styles regardless of whether they're male or female. One thing I have noticed from coaching, I would say more and more, and working with male coaches more and more, is I think I'm more in tune with some of the complexities, particularly of young women. I think I see that, I spot it, I'm more kind of aware of it, I think some of my male counterparts maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I know you said you don't think you missed out, but then how would you know?
No, yeah, that's true.
Exactly. And just in terms of the female body versus the male body, like you said, willing to understand the nuances of, you know, 1 week to the next of a month, and how a woman might train, or their nutrition might be, or, you know, just kind of those things. I don't see a man doing that.
I had a fabulous coach that I'm still in touch with lots, and I remember him always being like, I don't care what's going on, because when you turn up to play, you turn up to play, you turn up to train, you turn up to train, and this is all that matters. And I really subscribed to that for a while, and then I think the older I've got, I've kind of really understood that. I'm like, well, unless we really understand the full person, you can't expect them to be at their best and to park everything. So I think there's something there about, I don't know, maybe it's definitely an age thing, definitely a maturity thing, definitely everything that comes with that, but that idea of people being able to just park stuff and
shelve things.
Yeah, I'm not
but
sure
also
that
you're
works.
not, they kind of say that on a, like, leave the crap behind so you can just focus on this, but actually you're also missing out on what you could potentially be maximising on, because 100%. You're not understanding the 100%. Whole thing, right?
And you've got, within a team of 13 or for a water polo team, but within a team, a group of people, you've got different learning styles, different abilities to take information on, and preferences and whatever. So if you're just going to take this kind of homogenous approach, you're not going to maximise players' potentials or people's potential, because you're not tapping into how they learn and how they get the best out of something. So I think that idea of everybody has to just turn up and be ready to do something, and we're not going to tailor it, and we're not going to take account of you as a person, you're right, you just miss out on so much potential, I think, with that approach.
Yeah, I think that's good leadership in general, don't you, in terms of looking at your team, not it be sport team, like your work team, knowing the individuals and all their parts they can play, and knowing where they excel at different things and maybe need a little bit more help. Surely that's a better team than everybody saying, well, we're all equal, we're all in this together in the same way, and
everybody just needs to go on with it. 100%. And I remember years ago, somebody, and I don't know who it was, I read it somewhere, whatever, but that idea of, as a leader or as a manager, as it was at the time, like, you have to adapt your style to different people. And I remember that being like, oh, that's a thing, yeah. Rather than, well, I'm the manager and this is how I want things to happen. Like, I remember it being a bit of an epiphany for me, that idea of, actually it's not about me. It's about the people that you're trying to support and work with and get the best from. And if you don't take account of that and how you talk to them, how you communicate and blah, then you're not doing your job properly.
Yeah, I love that. I could talk about kind of coaching and leadership. I find it really fascinating, and you must be a good coach and a good leader, because you seem to be interested in that kind of aspect of getting the best out of people.
I think I'm getting more and more interested in, like, psychology and understanding people as I get older as well, and that's interesting me a lot more than
it's way more
before.
Interesting than just saying do your best, forget about everything, pain isn't real, push through. I mean, those are like nonsensical statements really when it comes to it, but it seems to be the norm for a long time for a lot of people, and I think it's just they got lucky. There's a lot of that.
Coming
back to kind of your values, do you live by 3 main values, or what are your thoughts on that, and how does that show up in your work?
I had a good think about this, and it kind of makes me slightly uncomfortable, and I'm trying to just trying to sit in that, and I did land on 3, but it kind of, I don't know, makes me feel slightly highfalutin, being like, oh yes, these are my values. But given the sector that I work in, and like how strongly I believe in things, I think it's just about connecting how I feel and what I believe with that values word in a way that I probably haven't had to do. So I do have 3. The first one, I think, is integrity. So I think I've got a really strong sense of right and wrong, that I try and live by. What I'm trying to reconcile that with at the moment is the idea of everybody being entitled to their own view of the world and their own opinion,
and
that I don't necessarily have to agree with it, but I do. Yeah, I don't need to have to always agree with that. But I think at the core of that is about people being treated with respect. So you can have whatever opinion in the world that you want, whether I agree with it or not. But centred to that is that we've all got to treat each other with respect. And I think I really struggle when personal opinion comes without that respect piece. And that's where the right and wrong kind of lands for me.
I also find that really hard. Everybody's different and I value that, but I think it is difficult when someone's views feels like it's an attack on really true central morals or values that you hold. So then how do you hold space for them to have their own opinion, but also then not feeling really hurt by that?
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you don't stand up to it in some way, are you complicit in what they believe, which you so strongly don't? It's hard. It's a hard place to be.
And it's hard to have a conversation that doesn't... Yeah, it's hard to have a conversation about that, because I think lots of the topics that we're potentially dancing around about, but they can be quite polarising, where like conversation, healthy conversation and understanding doesn't come hand in hand.
Yeah, and I think it's Brené Brown, but there's a quote about like you can't hate someone you are really close to, or like you get really close to, because I think if you then understand maybe where they got that understanding or that belief, then it opens the door a little bit on understanding why they might feel that way, and it doesn't feel so black and white.
Yeah. So I think that's a bit of a space for integrity. Consistency came up for me because it's quite important that people know what they get from me and know what to expect from me. So this idea that I try and be who I am regardless of where I am, or regardless of what role and place I'm in. Behaving in the same way.
I think that's
in different
integrity
places
as well, isn't it? I mean, that is integrity.
Yeah, maybe.
But no, I like that explanation as well.
It's quite important to me how I make people feel, and I think and it's maybe an experience thing, but knowing where you stand with people and knowing that you're getting the same person and you're getting that that same feeling, the
same version, not just
that's what I mean.
In front of a certain audience or behind closed doors, someone's very different. I respect that.
And I guess probably falling out of that is about kind of reliability, dependable. I want to be a person that folk can lean on, and that they know that they can lean on, and that they know I'll be there for them. I think where I am in my life right now, I've got an abundance of friends, resources, I've got a good job, I've got a good house, I've got a fabulous husband, but there might come a time that some of that falls away and I'll need to lean on other people. So I guess it's a kind of pay it forward type thing that's going on, and not consciously. But that idea of you just don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and so today somebody might need you and tomorrow you might need somebody else. So trying to be there for others is quite important.
Do you feel like these things have always been in you? Can you trace back to, say, when you were younger? Were you kind of so grounded in yourself, or is this something that's been cultivated more recently, or can you name that?
I think it has been. I think it's probably baked in the job and the sector that I find myself in. But I do think it's always been there. I believe quite strongly in second chances. I grew up with addiction in my household, and my dad turned his life around, and I think that for me is the big thing for me, that actually second chances are deserved, earned, important, because people have experiences, they find themselves in places, and that shouldn't define them. That's not the end of their story, the end of their journey. So there's something for me around it, like just believing in, like, with support and with support, whatever that looks and feels like, people can achieve amazing things.
That's not often a story you get to hear. What age is this for you in terms of your dad turning around?
I mean, his is an interesting story. He was a fabulous man, unfortunately. But he would be much more interesting than me having a podcast, to be honest with you. But he, probably early teens for me. My dad got sober, and then ended up, which I think is where all of this really comes to life for me. But ended up becoming an addiction counsellor himself and supporting others to really turn their lives around. And it was a kind of area of his life that he never really talked about in detail because of the need for anonymity and protecting individuals and all of that sort of thing. So I never met people as such until he passed away, and then you started to hear from people about the impact that he had on their lives. So I think that is something that probably has been embedded from seeing my dad and his approach to work and his approach to people, and but has maybe only just been properly woken up in the past few years when I've realised how important it is that how you treat people and how you support people, and all of that kind of brings all of that to the surface.
Yeah, and that sounds louder and stronger than any mistakes made, when he wasn't sober, kind of.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. My dad's my hero, always will be. Doesn't matter what happened. None of that really. And actually, in a kind of, in some way, I think probably a lot of that, and it won't be the case for everybody growing up in those sorts of circumstances, but also made me the person that I am in terms of strength of character and resilience and all the positive things that come from emerging from that. I'm massively doing my mum a disservice because she was the powerhouse that held all of that together. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I was going to ask about your mum.
She was the one that kept a roof over her head and kept us as a family, kept us as a unit when lots of people would have walked away from my dad, to be honest with you. So I'm doing her a massive disservice. She was really the person in the shadows that needs a lot of the recognition. But for me, my dad working through everything that he did and becoming who the man that he was, next level.
Yeah, next level. Good story. Yeah. Coming back to your working life, before we get into what you do now, do you have a most random or most terrible job you ever worked?
Do you know what? This was a tough one actually, because I think I've had some really great jobs. The most random one probably. I used to sell perfume in House of Fraser in Buchanan Street in Glasgow. Okay. Anybody that grew up in Glasgow, which for putting you into an environment of powerhouse women, the perfume department of any big department store. I've never been more terrified of some of the women that I worked with and for than in that environment. They were all a force to be reckoned with. So, and anyone that grew up in the kind of 90s, Friends, Dijon for Men, when Joy, that was me, like spraying folk in the face trying to sell £50 bottles of perfume.
Tell me what you're doing now and how long you've been at Firstport.
So I am the CEO at Firstport. I've been there since 2014. So quite a wee while now, actually.
That was a while.
Yeah, I didn't leave. I was at the Glasgow 2014 Commonwealth Games. That obviously came to an end, and there was a maternity job came up for a head operations, and I was successful in that, but it was a kind of short-term appointment really that was made permanent, and I'm still there. Yeah, and I've worked through, saying that, I've worked through probably about 3 or 4 different roles within the organisation. And then I was out the business for about 6 or 7 months to have Mitchell. And my predecessor left during that time, and I got the opportunity to interview for his job. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of different roles, I would say. I don't feel like I've been in the same place for however many years that is now. But I also kind of battle with that idea of I have to be going on to do something different and something new, and because all the different roles and all the different kind of iterations that Firstport has come through over that time as well. It's not the same organisation it was in 2014. So I think there's also something about that kind of external pressure or internal expectation that you do a job for so many years and then you have to keep putting yourself out there and out your comfort zone and get a better job and a bigger job and do more and whatever. And I've always wrestled with that, because I feel, particularly at the moment, I feel I'm exactly where I want to be and where I should be, and I've still got more to do. So yeah, it's a long time. But
yeah, there is a weird pressure. I mean, not everybody feels it, but I know what you mean. This kind of constant need or societal telling of you need to keep going for more and bigger. And it's not necessarily better, but we have confused that message with better. So yeah, I know what you mean. And yeah, if you're happy and you like your work that you do and everything's working well, then why make yourself miserable?
Yeah. There is a wee bit of like, and there's a lot of other things going on as well. Not in a dramatic way, but I'm at a point where I'm like, actually, I'm really comfortable, and there's more to be done in this role. I'm not coasting. The organisation isn't coasting. But I also kind of am pushing against that idea of, well, you've been there for a long time, so you should be moving. I'm like, I'm not sure I should.
Yeah, who's telling? Yeah, whose voice is that?
Yeah. And is it a thing? So yeah, I've been there for 11 years, and I love it.
That's nice. And were you doing social enterprise at all before Firstport?
No.
So
I was in sports development.
Yeah.
So I was an active schools coordinator in Edinburgh in my 20s, and then went and took on the role of legacy manager at Glasgow 2014, and I think that's what took me not necessarily into social enterprise, but into kind of that idea of using sport, as it was at the Commie Games, as a force for good, so using it as a vehicle for change. And I'd had a couple of different experiences of that at university, but I think that idea of changing opportunities in communities through a thing like sport, and how people's lives can change, and how things that are already taking place, things that are already happening, can have a really positive influence if you just point it in the right direction. I think that's where all of that came together in the Games for me.
That makes sense. It makes sense in your role as social enterprise as well, kind of as a company.
Yep.
What's your biggest risk you've taken to date, either personally or professionally?
Definitely taking this job on, the CEO. Yeah. I was on maternity leave when Josiah phoned, and then he was like, "Do you think you'll go for it?" I was like, absolutely not. I've got a small baby, and it's not the right time.
A step. It's hard enough coming back from mat leave, never mind in a new role as a CEO.
Yeah. And I kind of made all of those decisions based on that. Not actually, he's the only one, so I've never come through a maternity, I've never returned to work after maternity, but I was just taking lots of opinions from out in the ether and turning them into truth. Do you know what I mean? And so it was very much, it's not the right time for me, I'm not the right person, it'd be really hard with a young baby, blah blah blah. And he was like, okay, cool, think about it. And then my the Firstport chair, a fabulous woman called Yvonne Greaves, phoned me, and she was, I kind of had the same speech, like, I couldn't possibly, young child, blah. And she was like, yeah, no, that sounds tough. So if it's not going to be now, when is it going to be, kind of thing. And I realised with that that there is no perfect time. It was always going to be a step up. It was always going to be a challenge. It was always going to be a lot of uncertainty. But I'd also, from that conversation, realised that I'd conflated going for the job with getting the job. And I'd taken all of that and like
put it in one.
Yeah. And so some of those conversations, and my husband, who was just like 100% do it, go for it. I kind of then broke those things into smaller pieces and went, right, well, I'll go for it and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? And then I was lucky enough to get it. But that was the biggest risk. Because if I'd got it, and I did get it, obviously, but if I had in my head that it was, well, imposter syndrome instantly kicks in, like, I don't actually know what I'm doing. kind of run a business and all of that sort of stuff that goes on. But then also, if you go for it and you don't get it, then what does that mean? Then there's failure attached to that, and but it turns out that all of that is like a moment in time, and then you just get in and you're in it and you go on with it, and it's great. I love it.
And did any of those kind of worries actually happen?
Not the home life, I would say. I was really lucky. A couple of different things fell into place. We were and still are working from home a lot. Gordon was on shared paternity, so things like breastfeeding and weaning Mitchell and all of that sort of thing was all quite straightforward. I think there was only a small handful of meetings that I turned up with Mitchell in tow, and everybody was just like, yeah, cool, not a drama. And then he went to nursery and we got into a bit of a flow with that. So actually the home life stuff, which was the bigger thing, I think, didn't come into play. I would say it probably took me about 1.5 years to feel fully in control of the job. And a lot of that was coming back into an organisation that I knew really well and fixing some things that needed fixed. Kind of finding yourself in a new role and working with other people who are finding you in a new role as well. All of that takes time, actually.
That is tricky, isn't it? Because you're in charge all of a sudden. Maybe you weren't in charge of certain people and you'll have known it all too well from the inside.
Yeah, and I think had I not been on mat leave and still been in my role and been in the business, finished on the Friday and then turned up on the Monday as CEO, that would have been even harder.
Yeah, you're right, actually. You're away at least.
Yeah. So I felt like I came back with a fresh pair of eyes. I felt like I wasn't new to the business, so you weren't kind of like asking folk where the toilets were, but you were still coming back going, oh, that I don't like the look of that, and I've never liked the look of that, so that's on the list. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of gave me a bit of space and perspective to spot stuff without what definitely would have happened trying to do 2 jobs at the same time if I'd finished on a Friday and come on Monday. So. And
did you manage to not give yourself a hard time as a working mum?
Yes and no. So I condense my hours and I still do. So we have a Friday off. I think if it wasn't for that, then it would have felt different. And the flip side of that is that I do early mornings and I sometimes do late nights and I'll cram in a bit on a Sunday and whatever, but I'm okay with that. But I think having that protected time, and Gordy has a Friday off as well, that family time made it feel a wee bit better. But I think that's just a thing that I feel like I'm always saying to him, I'll just be there in a minute. Yep, I'm just coming. Just let me finish this email. I'll be there in a minute. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm always I'll be there 2 minutes. I'm just doing this. But I'm sure that never changes.
When they get to be about 20.
Yeah. And they don't want you hanging about anymore.
No, they don't. No, from like 14. It's fine. Oh, tell me about when you get in your state of flow, or the last time you experienced
I think my head automatically goes to a kind of workflow. I'm not sure I experienced that, or at least I can put my finger on it, if I'm honest. But it got me thinking about going back to swimming. I'm going to keep wanging on about it, but I've been trying to get back into the pool, and a couple of weeks ago, and I was in training for this tournament, got back into the pool, goggles on, cap on, and I just loved it. Just that idea of being back in the water, underwater, and the noise stopping. It was the first time I'd been aware of just a bit of quietness and a bit of, like, conscious of it when I swam, because I hadn't done it for so long. Loved it. So that's the thing that came to mind, rather than nice music on, a cup of coffee and getting and write something. Do you know, I don't get into that.
No, I think sport's great for that, in terms of Yeah, you're not thinking about anything else.
Huh.
Your body's in motion. It's working things through like on a cellular level without even trying.
Yep.
The noise, I guess maybe you're concentrating on your breathing enough that you're not having to think about
Yeah.
lots of other
And I
things.
don't know what it is that I think about, particularly when I'm swimming, because you're thinking about your breathing, and then I'll have a set in my head. It's a bit like I if I go for a run, which I rarely do, I'm quite happy to just go out and plod. But with swimming, I don't. So I've always got a set in my head, and I've always got something that I'm trying to achieve and lens. So like you're thinking all of that. Like I find myself in that space, which then shuts
everything
else out. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I need to clean a bathroom.
Yeah,
I've got this to do, and I need to put Cheerios on the shopping list. Do you know what I mean? Like you're just really in that space. And I think because I'd been away from it for a while, I realised
how much
it. Yeah. Yep.
So is that kind of what's next for you then? Is this adding back in?
Yeah, that's the ambition. I've been trying to do it more and more, and I think when I manage to do that and have those bits of time, that's when I'm at my best.
I think that's the new kind of what next. What next, as in how can I make my life more whole? I don't need a new bigger job. Maybe I need to add in the swimming.
Yeah,
maybe I need an extra day off to do. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like coming back to time, that is the pay rise. That is the kind of promotion for me.
Yep.
Is that how can I be more in control of my time?
Yeah, and I would totally agree with that. That idea of more money or a bigger job, it doesn't actually interest me. And I think what I've got at the moment is the flexibility, and that's what I like to have at Firstport, and it's really important to us. But that flexibility to work round your life, and to make sure that you can do the stuff that's important to you when it's available to you, and not having to kind of live by this peculiar structure. So yeah, and I couldn't move. Like I wouldn't go anywhere else for £1 million to lose all of that and go back to like 9 till 5. Like just not for me. And so it is just using time and just being a bit more connected to what's going on instead of 2 minutes late for everything.
I love it. I think I talk about it often, but yeah, this kind of obsession we have with more is better and the consumption of everything we like to do. Like, let's just stop a minute and actually, beautiful life, wonderful marriage, lovely baby boy, great job that you love, getting back into a sport that you love, friends and family around you, like you said. Why do you have to have more?
I know. Why would I want to change that? Why would I want to throw a hand grenade in and be like, I'm going to try and do something? Like, no, it's just where I am, and I'm super privileged to have it, have health, have my job, have the money and the security that comes with all of that. I do not, and I try not to take any of that for granted. But I'm in no great urgency to change any of it either.
Yeah, let's just like take a moment and be grateful.
yeah, 100%.
Brilliant. Oh, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Cheers.
Bye.
To show your support, please like and subscribe to this podcast. If you'd like to learn more and stay connected to Tribe Porty and Working for Progress, please visit tribeporty.org. There you can subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on Instagram and Facebook, where we share monthly blogs offering insights into how we craft our working lives. This has been Working for Progress. We hope you join us again.